Chapter 7 The Red Bud Tree. Today we will do the explanation of the lesson The Red Bud Tree. So children, here we see the warm-up exercise on the first page of the lesson. It has two pictures. In the first picture, the boy says, "My glass is already half empty." And the girl says, "No, your glass is still half full." In the second picture, the boy says, "We still have 10 questions to do out of 20. But the girl says, "No, we have already finished 10 questions out of 20. Now this just shows us the view of each person, how each person looks at the same thing. The girl is positive thinker. She thinks positively that the glass is half full, or we have already finished 10 questions and only 20 out of 20 only 10 are left. But the boy is always the negative type. He's thinking in both the cases, he's thinking in a different manner, in the negative manner, that my glass is half empty or we have only done 10 questions. So that is the difference. In this, we see the different type of thinking of different people. Every person can see the same thing in a different manner. So this is a story about the red bud tree, which blooms or grows differently in different seasons. In every season it looks different, and how these 4 princes see the red bud tree in its different form, and what they think and what happens in this and what lesson we get out of this story. This is what we are going to read in this. The tree has no leaves in the autumn season. It is very green in the winter season. It has got red buds, it is yellow in the early spring, and it has got red buds in the late spring season. So these are the different forms of the tree, the same tree seen in different forms by all the 4 princes' brothers. Once upon a time, 4 young princes heard a story about a certain wonderful tree called the red bud tree. None of them had ever seen a red bud tree, and each prince wished to be the first one to see it. So the eldest prince asked the driver of the king's chariot to take him deep into the woods where the tree grew. It was still early spring, and the tree had no more any buds. It was black and bare, like a dead tree. The prince could not understand why it was called the red bud tree, but he asked no questions. Sometime later in spring, the second prince requested the king's charioteer to take him to the red bud tree. At this time, it was covered with bright red buds and looked very beautiful. So what happens? Long time ago, once upon a time that is, there were 4 young princes, sons of a king, and they had heard a lot about a wonderful tree which is called the red bud tree. But no one of them had seen the tree ever. So they all wished to see, and each one wanted to see it the first. So the eldest son, the oldest one, he asked the driver of the prince's chariot. You know what is a chariot? Yes, it is a vehicle that is pulled by the horses. Okay? So he asked the king's he asked the driver of the chariot to take him to the woods. Woods means forests. He told him to take him to the woods where the tree grew, and it was early in the spring season. Spring season, the season which comes between winter and summer, where a lot of flowers bloom. So he went in that season, and he saw the tree. The tree had no leaves, and it had even no buds. Buds are very small round parts of the plant which grow into flowers later on. Okay, so he saw nothing on the tree. It was absolutely bare and black. Bare means without any leaves. There were not even any leaves on it. And the prince didn't understand why did everyone call it the red bud tree when it has got no leaves, no buds, nothing on it. But he didn't ask anything. He didn't even question the charioteer or the driver of the chariot, and he went back home quietly. Then, a little late in the spring season, the second prince requested the king's charioteer. Charioteer is the person who drives the chariot. Okay? So he asked him to take him to the red bud tree. Now at that time, he saw that the tree was covered with red buds, and it looked very, very beautiful to him, and he was very happy to see it. So we see the elder prince and the second prince. They see the tree in two different forms, right? Further, the third prince went into the woods just after spring. Now the tree did not have any red buds and was covered with lush green leaves. He could not understand why the tree was called the red bud tree, but he too did not ask any questions about it. Sometime before the rain, the youngest prince went to see the red bud tree. By this time, it was covered with small brown bean pods. When he came back from the woods, he rushed into the garden where his brothers were playing. He exclaimed, "I have seen the red bud tree." "So have I," said the eldest prince. "It did not look like a tree to me," he said. "It looked like a dead tree. It was black and bare." "What makes you say that?" said the second prince. "The tree had hundreds of beautiful red buds. This is why it is called the red bud tree." The third prince said, "Red buds, did you say? Why do you say it has red buds? It is covered with green leaves." The youngest prince, who had also seen the tree, laughed at his brothers, saying, "I have just seen that tree, and it is not like a dead tree. It has neither red buds nor green leaves on it. It is covered with small brown bean pods." The princess wondered that maybe the red bud tree was indeed a magical tree and appeared in different forms before the different people. The king heard them and waited until they stopped talking. Then he said, "My sons, all four of you have seen the same tree, but each of you saw it at a different time of the year. So, remember that different people can look at the same thing in different ways. Then, nobody is wrong and everybody may be right." So what happened? The first two brothers saw the tree. Eldest one saw absolutely bare. Second one saw it filled covered with red buds. The third one, when the third brother went in the late spring, he saw that it was covered with green leaves, lush green leaves. Lush green means very green and beautiful, healthy leaves. But he did not understand why people called it the red bud tree, because it was green in color. But he also did not ask any questions. Then the fourth son, the youngest one, he went when sometime later, just before the rainy season, and he saw that the tree was covered with small brown bean pods. Bean pods you can see in the picture where the word meanings are given. The long narrow part of the plant that holds the seeds, it had got seeds in it. those, but they were brown in color, and it was covered with those type of bean pods. And he came back from the woods in the forest, and he rushed to his brothers who were sitting in the garden to tell them that he had seen the red bud tree. So all of them said one by one. The elder brother said, I have also seen it. It doesn't even look like a tree. It was absolutely bare and black, looked as though it was dead absolutely. And the second brother said, no, I have also seen it, and I saw it had very beautiful red buds on it. And then that is why people call it the red bud tree. That is what he said. And the third one said, no, there were no red buds. I didn't see any red buds. I saw that it was covered with green leaves. Absolutely, it looked very green. And the fourth one said, I have just now gone and seen, and I saw it was covered with brown bean pods. Now all the brothers thought that maybe it is a magical tree. That must be some magic that everyone saw different, the same tree in a different form. Okay. Then what happened? The king was actually listening to their conversation, and he then told his children that, my sons, you all have seen the same tree, but all of you have seen it in a different form, because at a different time of the year, and every different time of the year it looks different. So he said, now from this you learn that, remember that every person, different people, look at the same thing in a different way. That is why in the beginning of the lesson, the boy said the glass is half empty, but the girl said glass is half full. Understand? So nobody can be maybe wrong, and everybody may also be right. So we can't say that you are right and I am wrong, or I am wrong and I am right or you are wrong. Maybe for you that same thing is correct and right, but for me it is not right. Or maybe for you something is not good and for me it is good. So that is the difference. We all see things differently. So we all may be right or we all may not be right, but it is the same thing. So nobody is wrong and everybody may be right, and different people look at the same thing in a different way. That is the moral or the lesson of the story, The Red Bud Tree. I hope children you liked it. You must read it very nicely to understand it better.